Petula Clark, the iconic songstress, has reached a milestone that demands our admiration and applause. 90 years of captivating the world with her voice and presence. However, contrary to that gifted voice, her life has been plagued with many tragedies, from relationships to health. Don't miss this video if you want to know what happened to Petula during the past 9 decades. Petula Clark's journey as a star began at a very young age, showcasing her exceptional talent and charisma. At just 7 years old, she started singing, giving the world a glimpse of her prodigious vocal abilities. By the age of 9, she made her radio debut, proving that her talent transcended her years. The Royal Albert Hall, one of the most prestigious venues in the world, became a part of Petula's story when she performed there at the astonishingly young age of 11. This early exposure to grand stages was an indication of her future stardom. Her career only continued to soar, with her music making a significant impact. She is known for her chart-topping hits, including Downtown, I Couldn't Live Without Your Love, and Don't Sleep in the Subway, all of which contributed to her impressive record sales totaling 70 million records. In addition to her musical accomplishments, Petula Clark achieved another significant milestone as the first UK female artist to win a Grammy Award, cementing her place in music history. Her collaborations with iconic artists such as Frank Sinatra and Barbra Streisand further highlighted her immense talent and versatility. Notably, in one of her 30 film appearances, Finian's Rainbow, she shared the screen with legendary dancer Fred Astaire, showcasing her diverse abilities. What makes Petula Clark's story even more impressive is her ageless presence. Even at the age of 80, she continues to be active in her career, proving that her appeal spans generations. Her enduring worldwide popularity is a testament to her unique talent and the timeless quality of her music. However, amid all her achievements and success, there's a poignant aspect of Petula's life that she grapples with: feelings of guilt and anguish. She is haunted by the fear that her stardom may have adversely affected the upbringing of her 3 children, Barbara, Kate, and Patrick. This inner conflict adds depth to her story, showcasing the sacrifices and challenges that can come with a life in the spotlight. Petula Clark has a profound sense of self-criticism and regrets that she couldn't be the mother or wife she aspired to be. Her ex-husband, Claude Wolff, a dashing Frenchman, separated from her more than 2 decades ago, but they've never officially divorced and maintain a friendly relationship. Her self-critique centers on her belief that she fell short in her roles as a mother and wife, and she reflects on the challenges of balancing these responsibilities with her career as a performer. She admits to pushing herself hard to be the perfect mother, the ideal wife, and a successful artist simultaneously. In her own words, she thought she could do it all, but she's now come to the realization that it's an unattainable goal. She expresses regret and apologizes, acknowledging that being a parent and a spouse are full-time commitments that cannot be perfectly juggled. The difficulty she faced arose when her 3 children were young and her career was soaring, not just in Europe but also in the United States. Her popularity in France extended to other French-speaking countries, such as those in the Caribbean, Morocco, Algeria, and Belgium, which resulted in a packed schedule of performances and commitments. Her professional demands meant extensive travel, which made it challenging to balance her family life. Her career took off even further when she gained recognition in the United States with her hit song, Downtown. This added an additional layer of complexity to her schedule, as she needed to fulfill contractual obligations in both Europe and the United States, involving numerous journeys. While she preferred to have her children accompany her on these trips, it wasn't always feasible. As a result, she found herself torn between being a devoted mother and wife and her obligations as a performer. Petula Clark initially believed that she could manage it all, believing herself to be something of a superwoman. However, over time, she came to the realization that it was simply not possible to achieve perfection in all aspects of her life simultaneously. Petula Clark opens up about the emotional toll her career took on her family, particularly her children. She describes the deep emotional struggle she faced every time she had to leave home for work commitments. The constant goodbyes left a lasting impact on her children, and the sadness of these separations lingered with them for many years. Despite her demanding career, she always made an effort to rush back home whenever possible and turned down numerous work opportunities to be with her children. She recognizes the importance of being present in their lives and acknowledges that she had to strike a balance between her career and her role as a mother. In retrospect, Petula Clark expresses a sense of hope that she has been able to make amends for any shortcomings during those challenging years. She seems to have worked on nurturing her relationship with her children and rectifying any emotional distance that may have resulted from her career commitments. Petula Clark's adult children have had discussions with her about the anxiety and guilt she experienced during their upbringing. To her relief, they expressed their appreciation for the opportunities they had, including receiving an excellent education and traveling first class around the world with her. She acknowledges that her children view these experiences differently than she does, as children often have their own perspective on life. During their meeting, Petula Clark exudes elegance, dressed in black with her short blonde curly hair. She still carries the aura of a star. Her successful career has brought her considerable wealth, which is evident in her lifestyle. She primarily resides in her main home in Geneva, where she spends most of the year. Additionally, she owns a holiday chalet in the French Alps, where she enjoys skiing, and a pied-à-terre in London's upscale Chelsea district. Interestingly, Petula Clark emphasizes that she isn't overly concerned with material possessions or the typical trappings of a star's life. She prefers a more down-to-earth approach and avoids the extravagance associated with celebrity. She mentions that while things like stretch limousines with tinted windows and bodyguards can be enjoyable, she derives greater satisfaction from simple activities. She mentions her preference for going out alone with just her bus fare in her pocket and catching a regular number 19 bus, emphasizing that the scenery remains the same regardless of the mode of transport. This reflects her grounded and unpretentious attitude despite her successful and glamorous career. Petula Clark describes herself as fairly solitary and comfortable being alone, often not feeling the need to be surrounded by people. However, she reminisces about a moment during her tour with Sunset Boulevard in the United States, where the entire cast was American except for her. She experienced a bout of homesickness and confusion about where she truly felt at home. In her dressing room, feeling somewhat sorry for herself, she had an epiphany. She ventured out on stage an hour before the show and sat on the staircase, a central piece of the set. There, she had a personal revelation telling herself, "This is your home. I'm home." Despite recognizing the potential corniness of the sentiment, she knew she belonged there, and this realization eased her homesickness and discomfort. Beneath her cheerful and easygoing personality, Petula Clark reveals that she has experienced moments of depression. She acknowledges that her emotional state has had its ups and downs, with periods of elation and moments of despair, especially when she contemplates the state of the world. However, she emphasizes that she has never taken anything for granted. Petula's upbringing had a significant influence on her. Her Welsh mother, Doris, who possessed a gifted soprano voice, taught her to sing as she was raised in Epsom, Surrey. Her father, Leslie, initially aspired to be an actor, but was dissuaded by his parents. Instead, he became Petula's manager and exercised strict control over her life. Many believed that he lived out his show business dreams through her. Despite the challenging aspects of her career, Petula Clark viewed it as a great adventure. She fondly recalls the first time she performed at the Albert Hall, where she felt absolutely no nerves. Even as she was reading a comic backstage, she was unexpectedly called to the stage. She went on, delivered a remarkable performance that received a tremendous response, and returned to her comic as if nothing had happened. She acknowledges that such an easygoing attitude wouldn't be possible today. As with maturity comes an awareness that things can go wrong, and greater expectations are placed on her shoulders as an artist. Petula Clark earned the affectionate moniker of Our Pet from the British public. During this time, she hosted a regular radio program that featured morale-boosting songs, particularly those from the wartime era. In 1944, she signed a contract with the Rank Organization, one of Britain's most influential film studios, marking her entry into the world of cinema. Her debut film was titled Medal for the General. Subsequently, Petula went on to appear in more films. However, akin to the experience of child star Shirley Temple, she was disheartened to discover that Rank was reluctant to let her transition into adulthood on screen. The studio attempted to preserve her youthful appearance by using a tight band to flatten her bust. This physically uncomfortable practice also took a toll on her psychologically. She expressed that, as a child, her inclination was to grow up and portray characters older than her age rather than younger. Nevertheless, her role at the time was to be charming and cute, and she learned how to excel in that aspect. In 1957, after a series of successful records and films, she embarked on a journey to perform in Paris. This decision was significant as it marked her departure from the UK, as well as her father's influence, who some believed had pushed her dangerously close to a breakdown. Petula chose to settle in France, where she encountered a handsome PR professional named Claude Wolff. She fondly recalls the moment they met. "I was talking to the boss of my French record company when the light in his office went out. We were in the dark, and a man came in to replace the bulb. When the light came on again, I took one look at him, and that was it." Her connection with Claude Wolff ultimately led to their marriage in 1961, marking a significant turning point in her life and career. Petula Clark's romantic history had its fair share of interesting encounters with charming men. In the early 1950s, she had a flirtatious interaction with none other than the iconic Sean Connery, who was working as a chorus boy in the stage musical South Pacific. She fondly recalls a particularly lively night when they found themselves under a piano sipping on gin and cider cocktails. Beyond this, she also had a significant and lasting relationship with pianist Joe Henderson. However, Claude Wolff was an entirely different experience for her. She didn't have any particular expectations when she first met him. Claude was a prominent figure in Paris, well-connected and acquainted with numerous people. Petula vividly recalls falling in love with him immediately. Despite her inability to speak a word of French and her initial lack of enthusiasm for France, she felt an undeniable connection. She even humorously mentions that she thought France was a bit smelly at the time, particularly compared to the present day. Nonetheless, her affection for Claude transcended all barriers. He was the man she fell in love with, and her feelings were genuine. Practical considerations played a role in their decision to build a life in France, since Claude couldn't be in England, and he couldn't speak English. He had a thriving career with the record company in France, so the couple opted for her to move to France, where she started anew. Upon relocating to France, Petula was embraced by the French people, who took her to their hearts. By 1962, she had achieved the status of being France's favorite female vocalist, surpassing even the legendary Edith Piaf in popularity. The French people were warm, welcoming, and genuinely appreciated her, finding her amusing and attractive. This newfound acceptance allowed her to blossom personally and professionally. She felt liberated in France, where she began to truly live life without worrying about others' opinions. In essence, her journey in France became the catalyst for her personal growth and self-assurance. In the 1980s, Petula Clark and Claude Wolff's marriage went through a separation. According to Petula, it wasn't a definitive decision to split, but rather a gradual drifting apart. She speculates that Claude may not have enjoyed living in the United States, where her career had gained substantial momentum, leading to frequent work commitments there. The true reason behind their separation is somewhat challenging to define, but she suggests that they had evolved into different individuals over time. One intriguing aspect of their relationship is their decision not to pursue a divorce. Petula mentions that initially their choice to remain legally married was influenced by their children. As time passed, Claude and Petula led separate lives, each focusing on their own pursuits. Interestingly, this unconventional arrangement seemed to function for them. They had built a life together, and perhaps their upbringing or personal values didn't align with the concept of divorce, and they felt that there was still a significant bond between them. Despite the separation, Petula and Claude maintained connections with their children, and family remained important to them. Their eldest daughter, Barbara, married French interior designer Baron Robert de Cabrol and resides in New York with their children, Sebastian and Annabelle. Kate, their second child, is a yoga professor who divides her time between Paris and Geneva. Patrick, known as Paddy, also lives in Geneva and is involved in golf, owning a golf shop in addition to his residence in Switzerland. Petula Clark has recently introduced a new man into her life, and Claude, her former husband, has also found a new companion. While she mentions this, she remains somewhat reserved and doesn't divulge further details about these relationships. In November of the previous year, there was a discreet celebration in Geneva to mark her 80th birthday, although her daughter Barbara and her family from New York couldn't attend the event. However, her other children, Kate and Paddy, were present, as were a couple of friends from Geneva and Claude. They enjoyed a lovely dinner, and notably, nobody sang Happy Birthday because they knew that Petula preferred not to have such celebrations. She doesn't dwell on the concept of age and has no concerns about it. For her, the key is to continue doing what she does well, regardless of her age, as age is a non-issue in her perspective. Petula's focus remains on the present and the future rather than the past. When she performs in concerts, she certainly includes the old songs, which hold a special place in her life. However, she emphasizes the importance of introducing something new and fresh into her performances to maintain her interest and excitement. She now embarks on world tours with her one-woman show and recently released a new studio album titled Lost in You. The album includes new songs, some of which she wrote herself, along with her interpretations of hits like John Lennon's Imagine, Elvis Presley's Love Me Tender, and Gnarls Barkley's Crazy. She has also introduced a new arrangement of her iconic hit, Downtown. Performing continues to exhilarate her, especially during live shows where she experiences the magic of being on stage in front of an audience. She's fortunate not to encounter the vocal challenges that some performers face with age. In fact, she believes her singing voice has improved in some aspects. As for her enduring youthful appearance, she attributes it to a simple beauty routine consisting of soap, water, and a good moisturizer. She humorously mentions that she had a small amount of cosmetic surgery long ago to address a scar above her eye that appeared on the cinema screen. Once she had that corrected, she felt the need to fix something else, which occurred during her involvement in the production of Finian's Rainbow alongside Fred Astaire in 1968. Her regimen, combined with her naturally timeless beauty, seems to have served her well. Finian's Rainbow marked the final film in which the legendary Fred Astaire danced, and Petula Clark had the privilege of working alongside him. She fondly reminisces about Astaire, describing him as a great artist who had a strong aversion to mediocrity and vulgarity. He exuded class and was unable to tolerate anything tacky. Even in his own home, he maintained an atmosphere of tasteful elegance that resembled a movie set. In the film, Astaire portrayed a down-and-out character, and even in that role, his perfectionism shone through. The wardrobe team had difficulty making him appear shabby. A simple piece of string tied around him somehow managed to look like the latest fashion. He was dedicated to his craft, often staying in the studio over the weekend for rigorous rehearsals. Petula recalls that Astaire was just as nervous about singing with her as she was about dancing with him, highlighting his commitment to delivering an exceptional performance. The conversation then shifts back to Petula's own remarkable longevity as a performer. She emphasizes that she simply kept going, doing what she felt like doing without overthinking it. She acknowledges that life passes by swiftly, and she occasionally reflects on her age, realizing that she never expected to reach this point. She wonders whether the public today still values enduring performers or if they prefer something fresh each year. An interesting aspect of Petula's career is her choice not to have an entourage, which she credits with helping her maintain her sanity. She describes the euphoria of coming off stage to adoring fans, but she's aware of the down moments that inevitably follow. While some artists might struggle with the transition from adulation to solitude, Petula has been grounded and never indulged in substances to cope with the pressures of fame. She learned early on about the potential dangers in the entertainment industry, and has always viewed it with a realistic perspective. Becoming a star is one challenge, but remaining a star is another. She acknowledges that people have a sense of nostalgia for her work, which doesn't bother her, although she doesn't spend her time dwelling on her past records or films. For Petula, what matters most is the present and the work she continues to create and perform. Petula Clark shared details about her health history, focusing on a particularly challenging incident that occurred after an emergency operation to remove her appendix. She described it as her worst illness. After the surgery, she initially maintained good health. Reflecting on the situation, she explained that the operation had been urgently needed because a scar had turned gangrenous. At the time of the interview, Petula was living in Geneva with her husband, 3 children, and 2 grandchildren. She credited the location for keeping her fit and healthy, emphasizing her ability to run up stairs with ease. While she humorously noted that she couldn't run up the stairs of her 10th-floor residence in Geneva, she frequently navigated the stairs in their mountain chalet. She also mentioned her absence of knee problems. In terms of her overall health, Petula revealed that she rarely took vitamins, pills, or medications. She had only been on one diet in her life, the Atkins diet, which she used to shed post-pregnancy weight after giving birth. However, Petula's health journey hasn't always been smooth. At the age of 21, she underwent an emergency operation to have her appendix removed. Following the procedure, she experienced unexpected complications. The pain she had initially felt intensified, and after 6 months, she required another surgery. During the second operation, doctors discovered internal adhesions around the scar tissue from her previous surgery, and this tissue had become gangrenous. To address the issue, a portion of her intestine had to be removed, and the situation was quite urgent. Petula's parents were deeply concerned, but she noted that she hasn't experienced any problems related to that incident since then. She carries only a faded scar of a couple of inches as a reminder of the ordeal. In medical terms, a procedure to remove the appendix is known as an appendectomy. It is typically performed in response to appendicitis, which can escalate into a medical emergency if not treated promptly. Appendicitis usually begins with abdominal pain, initially in the middle of the abdomen, which then shifts to the lower right-hand side, where the appendix is typically located. This pain becomes constant and severe over time, and activities like pressing on the area, coughing, or walking may exacerbate it. Appendectomies generally have a high success rate and can now be conducted using minimally invasive keyhole surgery. Open surgery is the preferred method when the appendix has burst or access is more challenging. Unfortunately, Petula's appendix surgery led to complications and the development of gangrene, a potentially life-threatening condition. What do you think about Petula Clark's life full of tragedy and regret? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this, and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.